Jayson Tatum recently said the LeBrons, the Stephs, the KDs. I want the next generation to view me as that. I think you'll have a few young folks who will see Jayson Tatum as that. I saw something like a few months ago where they asked some young folks, who's your favorite player? And some people said Paul George. But again, that's man, that's their choice. Like that's their favorite player. So okay, that's fine. I can't knock that. I mean, I guess I could, but and I'm for sure for some people they put Jayson Tatum in that same class. I cannot, and it's not his fault. It's just I don't think. I think from a personality standpoint, I just don't think Jayson Tatum is that compelling of a personality, or his story really hasn't been that interesting. Now, listen, he's the NBA champion. They won. The Celtics won the champs. They're the defending champs. My Cavs has had the best record basically all season in the East. They still have to get through Boston. So it's going to be, I would love to see my Cavaliers in the finals, but they have to get through Boston, right? But if you look at that championship series last year, I think people, when you ask them who's really the leader of that team, whose energy do you think they feed off of? I think it's Jaylen Brown. I think that Jaylen Brown is actually the core of that team. And it's not to knock Jayson Tatum. Like this year, if you look at his stats, he's averaging nearly 27 points a game, almost, I think, 9 rebounds a game, 8 or 9 rebounds a game, and like 6 assists a game. Like, they're great numbers. Absolutely. But he's just one of those dudes where you're not really paying too much attention to him. And the next thing you know, he has like 26 points. And it's not like he's dunking on everybody. It's not like he's shooting some crazy threes like Steph. He's a solid, great player. But I can't see him as the face of the league. Now, he'll become the face of the league. Listen, once LeBron, Steph, and KD retire, he will be default one of the faces of the league. But I think moving forward, I think the NBA got a problem because there's nobody that I can see right now who's a true face of the league. The NBA had this problem when Jordan retired. When Jordan retired, you had like Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady, and you had a lot of guys, young guys who was coming up who was like fantastic. Like Grant Hill, before Grant Hill got hurt. I think the goal was they wanted Grant Hill to be the guy. But Grant Hill got hurt. But even then, I just felt like, I don't think it's going to be Grant. Like Grant's a nice guy. And he was really, when he was healthy, he was fantastic. But his story I wasn't compelled to watch Grant Hill all the time, even though Grant Hill was great. I like what Orlando was doing with Penny Hardaway and Shaq. Like Penny had those little Penny commercials, right? You had that, and you had young Shaq. I feel like the faces of the league are usually organic. Like the NBA didn't want Allen Iverson to be the face of the league. Allen Iverson, was in Newport News, Virginia. He had that issue because he was a quarterback and a basketball player in high school. They had that fight, I think, at a bowling alley. He got locked up, could have gone to prison. Got out at John Thompson, took him to Georgetown. Georgetown with Patrick Ewing and Lonzo Mourning and Dikembe Mutombo. He came after that because he was the shortest one. And that was great. Then he goes to the Sixers. He crossed up Jordan in his first year. Then he got the cornrows, and the real AI came out. And the league really didn't want that. They didn't want some dude with cornrows representing the league. They didn't want that, but they couldn't stop it. Same thing with Dennis Rodman. They didn't want Dennis Rodman representing the league, but Dennis Rodman at his peak, Rodmonia era, people was into Rodman, but they didn't want it. But that's what the people wanted. Moving forward, I think when these guys retire, Steph, LeBron, and KD, I don't think there's a guy. Ant-Man said he doesn't want to be the face of the league. I think Wemby would like to. But even with Wemby, it's like, I don't know if people want to gravitate to him or not. Like, even when you look at Boston, are you watching the Boston Celtics for Jayson Tatum, or are you watching the Boston Celtics for Boston? And even when he retires, like by the time, I think Jayson right now is like number 9 all time on the scoring list. When he retires, he might be top 3. He'll definitely be top 5, but top 3, maybe top 2. But if you're doing a Mount Rushmore of Boston Celtic players, who's on it? So if you got Bird, Bill Russell, okay, you got Bird and Bill Russell. They got 2 of the spots right there. So then you feel it. You got Bob Cousy, John Havlicek, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. Now we're getting into like Paul Pierce territory. Paul Pierce? Like who would you part? Who would you part? If you could give it to Tatum or Paul Pierce, who would it be? I don't know. Paul Pierce was really good. It's just like he was just delusional to think that he was good as LeBron. He probably still thinks he's as good as LeBron. He's not. He's not. He's not the ball player LeBron is. He's not the marketing whiz LeBron is. It's just totally different with Paul Pierce. But he was a great player. So it's not to knock Jayson Tatum at all. I think he's a fantastic player. He had a baby of LMA. But I don't know, really don't know much about him, right? When we look at these three, LeBron, Steph, and KD, there was always stories. Like LeBron, teenage phenom on the cover of Sports Illustrated. The question is, can this teenager really become the chosen one? Not only did he become that, for some people, he's the greatest player ever. I still think he's number 2 behind Jordan. I'm a Jordan guy, even though I'm from Akron. But yeah, LeBron's up there, and and LeBron got an interesting personality. He had the whole thing with the Heat. for good or bad, personality-wise and storyline-wise, he got this thing with the All-Star games. For good or bad, LeBron is an interesting person. Steph Curry, son of Dell Curry, played for my Cavs. Dell did, and then he went to in the expansion draft, went to the Charlotte Hornets. Steph was born in Akron. Then when Dell went to Charlotte, he grew up, Steph grew up in Charlotte. Went to school at Davidson. Little guy, looked like he's like 12 years old. They had a March Madness run, but this little guy could shoot. And he got drafted by Golden State under Mike Jackson. Steph was always hurt with his ankles. Then Steve Kerr comes in, Steph gets healthy, and now Steph Curry is one of the greatest shooters ever. And, he got the stuff with his wife, Aisha, but that's all calmed down. He was all hooked up at the All-Star game. It was sweet. It was nice. I like seeing them together. But there was always something about Steph that was interesting. He's like the sweet guy, the nice guy who did good. He's the son of an NBA guy, and he can shoot. He's a great shooter. Like, he shoots from everywhere. So that's Steph. And he got KD. KD's the skinny 7-footer from the University of Texas who can shoot the lights out. But he was super skinny. He was super skinny for years. The story was, can he pick up weight? He's bigger now. It took forever. So then they went to Seattle to OKC. And KD was helped because he had Russ. And Russ was more of the dynamic personality because Russ is fiery. But still, it's almost like, but you watch this dynamic between KD and Russ. And then, that team, the young Oklahoma City team, which reminds me of the past Oklahoma City team. But that's when they had Harden. Like this team of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander kind of reminds me of that team back with Harden and KD and Russ because they had all that young talent. But then KD goes off to Golden State and plays with Steph. Then he leaves Steph and then goes to Brooklyn to play with Kyrie and then James Harden. That blows up. Thank you, Brooklyn Nets, for firing Kenny Atkinson. He's gave my Cavs the best record this year. Thank you. So there's that. And then he goes to Phoenix. But right now, people really don't care. People are, because Phoenix isn't winning. I mean, I think they still kind of care about KD a bit, but, they're not winning. But again, KD, there's some compelling stuff about KD. There's nothing compelling about Jayson Tatum. And you hate to say this. He's a good-looking dude, great scorer, famous girlfriend, or relatively famous if you're an R&B girlfriend, cute kid. But I don't know if people tune in to watch him. I think they tune in to watch the Celtics. So what do you guys think? Is Jayson Tatum in the same league as LeBron, Steph, and KD? I guess if you make an argument, it's like, hey, man, he's scoring almost 27 points a game. He's won it. He's won a championship. Why not? If you believe that, that's great. I just don't think moving forward, people are not going to tune in and see Jayson Tatum on Peacock on Amazon. I don't think they tune in like they'll watch Steph and LeBron or even KD, but really Steph and LeBron. So what do you guys think? Is Jayson Tatum the face of the NBA? Or is he just a face?